Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tim Grimes, and a lot of the spiritual and manifesting advice that I share is basically where a lot of people's advice on the topic ends. And that is in part what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be making a political manifesting video. Oh my gosh. Terrifying. Just so you know, too, if you're new here or old here, I'm going to probably start with this video and going forward, not responding to nearly as many comments as I have been over the last year. Start of the year, I had a new book out, and I wanted to spread the word and answer questions people had about it. Money, Your Friend. If you haven't read it, take a look. And then, as the year went on, Marvin and I had a lot of questions people had about a specific person, SP issues. If you're interested in SP coaching, I'll put a link below where you can fill out a questionnaire if you want to work with Marvin and I. Anyway, that time of me answering questions and responding to comments on YouTube, I think is done. I'm going back in my cave. I'm going to want to go back in my cave after this video, probably. I will respond to occasional comments on YouTube, but if you want to contact me, be a real person and email me. That's the best way. Actually, email me or contact me on my website, radicalcounselor.com, or info@radicalcounselor.com if you want to just email me, if you don't want to contact me on my website. Don't expect me to respond to a lot of comments because I'm donezo. Which plays in part, or is a good segue to today's discussion on the world's most famous manifestor, Donald J. Trump. Marvin did a good video a few weeks ago. I'll put a link above to it. And I have, you do hear it occasionally, but I'm really surprised in the manifesting space, the law of assumption, law of attraction, bada, whatever you want to call it, community space, that we don't hear more about Trump as a master manifester, to use that dumb phrase. Because he is. Trump is, without question, the best example of a famous person, at least in Western culture that I know of, utilizing these manifesting concepts. It's not even close. Donald Trump is a master manifester. His self-concept and the way he treats issues, his single-mindedness in terms of basically insisting that something is a certain way and keeping his self-concept solid even when everybody denies it is second to none in popular culture here in the West. I mean, you compare him to any other politician of the last, 40, 50 years. He's called Teflon Don for a reason. He's able to recover from seemingly any mishap because his self-concept, his idea that what he is doing right, and his belief in that is so strong. And it has made him, as absurd as it sounds, probably the most significant political figure in American history of the last 50 years. And probably from a purely political standpoint of gaining power, the greatest politician in the United States of the last, half century or so. Marvin often references this when he talks about Trump, and other people do too, the Norman Vincent Peale connection. How when Trump was a kid, he attended the Church of Norman Vincent Peale, the power of positive thinking, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. If you want to see a good example, a good model of somebody who has appropriate self-talk to manifest what they want in the external 3D, if you want a good model for that, and for a lot of other, also a model for a lot of other of these LOA principles in terms of like being persistent and using, basically speaking the word into existence. Turn no further than Donald J. Trump. He's the obvious Adams example of this. People talk about Oprah and Jim Carrey. You hear all these, played out stories of people, using manifesting tools to manifest their ideal life or whatever. Aaron Rodgers visualizing throwing a touchdown in the end zone, blah, blah, blah. It's all great, all true, like all these famous people did use these manifesting ideas to do that. And still do. And so many successful people use tools like visualization or affirmations or journaling to propel themselves into the reality they want, right? When it seems so unlikely. But none of them that I know of has come close to what Trump has done. None of them. I saw Trump speak before he was running for president. This is probably, I think, 11 years ago, back in 2013. This is when he was, I think, trying to buy the Bills. And, if the story goes is true, is, if Trump bought the Buffalo Bills, none of this would have happened. He never would have tried to run for president, probably. But I was struck by a few things. First of all, I was struck by how dumb he seemed in many regards, how he was not a very intelligent person. And at the same time, how he had a brilliant quality when speaking to hone in on certain things, almost like an idiot savant type quality to gauge what to say to rouse interest in what he was saying. He said nothing deep or profound, but what he said with such gravitas, right, that it could really strike an audience. And he then didn't double down. He, I don't know, triple, quadrupled, whatever, 10 times down that when he entered the political sphere. Like the people in the running for, in the Republican primary in 2016, they did not have a chance debating this guy. This guy was on such a different level as a debater compared to any of these other, hackneyed politicians. Destroyed them. Because he has this incredible, brilliant quality as a debater to assert his point with force, even if it seems ridiculous, even if it's untrue. And he has the conviction to stand behind it, even if it's absurd. It's a brilliant quality. And like I said, he might not be brilliant in many other ways, but what he is brilliant in has led him to this point of running for president 3 times. And, perhaps winning in a few weeks the election. And this is the thing, guys. This is obvious, what I just said. If you get your hand or your head out of the sand, and your hands, I guess, it's obvious that Trump is utilizing manifesting tools in a amazing way. Absolutely amazing way. And it also is obvious that he's a terrible person and completely unfit, as they like to say, to be president. If you consider yourself, someone who's spiritual or into these manifesting ideas where there's things such as karmic retribution and you should, follow the golden rule and do unto others what you would want done to yourself, I don't see how you could ever vote for Donald Trump. This is someone who is self-obsessed. Someone who cares so much more about himself than, anything political. If it made more sense for him to be a Democrat, he'd be a Democrat tomorrow. His self-interest is what carries him along. That's what makes him a great manifester. And it goes to show that you can implement these amazing manifesting concepts and tools any way you want. You can do it morally and with a good heart, as these great LOA teachers recommend. Or you can do it in a very amoral, self-centered, narcissistic type of way, which is what Trump has done. And Trump has always been a piece of shit. This isn't like when he just started to run for president. He's been a piece of shit his whole adult life and done absolutely appalling things his whole adult life. This is all obvious if you get your head out of the sand. And if you're seriously considering voting for Donald Trump, you have your head in the sand. Especially if you purport to be into these LOA ideas and on a quote-unquote spiritual level where you want done to others what you would have done to yourself. Because this guy's a lousy guy. He's not a good person. I'm going to read from a New Yorker article that I read, I think from last week's New Yorker. And by the way, you can call me an East Coast liberal or whatever the fuck you want. Fuck off. This is nothing about... I am an East Coast liberal, by the way. And also, by the way, Kamala and Waltz, I think they're freaking, lousy candidates, by the way. It's not like I'm like, oh, go Kamala. No. I don't like them. But they're, a hell of a lot of a better alternative than Trump ever was and will be. Okay? This isn't about me being liberal or conservative. This is about obviousness, which, apparently half the country about is going to vote for Trump. They don't see the obvious. It's insane. Anyway, this was from that East Coast rag, the New Yorker. No, it's a great article called "As Bad as All That" by Adam Gopnik. He wrote, I'm just going to read this. He says this much better than I could. He says, what any plausible explanation must confront is the fact that Trump is a distinctively vile human being and a spectacularly malignant political actor. In fables and fiction, in every Disney cartoon and Batman movie, we have no trouble recognizing and understanding the villains. They are embittered, canny, ludicrous in some ways, and shrewd in others. Their lives governed by envy and resentment, often rooted in the acts of people who've slighted them. They'll never laugh at me again. They nonetheless have considerable charm and the ability to attract a cult following. This is Ursula, Hades, Scar, to go no further than the Disney canon. Extended, if that seems too childlike, to the realms of Edmund and King Lear and Richard III. Smart people all, almost lovable in their self-recognition of their deviousness, but not people we ever want to see in power. For in power, their imaginations become unimaginably deadly. Villains in fables are rarely grounded in any cause larger than their own grievances. They hate Snow White for being beautiful, resent Hercules for being strong and virtuous. Bane is blowing up Gotham because he feels misused, not because he truly has a better city in mind. Trump is a villain. He would be a cartoon villain if only this were a cartoon. Every time you try to give him a break, to grasp his charisma, historicize his ascent, sympathize with his admirers, the sinister truth asserts itself and can't be squashed down. He will tell another lie so preposterous, or malign another shared decency so absolutely, or threaten violence so plausibly, or just engage in behavior so unhinged and hate-filled that you recoil and rebound to your original terror at his return to power. That's Donald J. Trump. And even if he wasn't a criminal and sexual harasser many a times over, just his actions around January 6th, guys, and his denial of a fair election are reasons why you can never vote for this person for president. Just the January 6th stuff, if you look at it with any type of objectivity. Just the January 6th stuff. If he was otherwise like a seemingly good guy and a sane candidate, but he denied the election being valid and did what he did surrounding January 6th, that reason alone is why he cannot be voted president again. This is obvious. Just get your head out of the sand and you see it. Anyway, in all likelihood, I will not be responding to comments to this video. And I hope that it helps clarify something for a few of you at least.